Welcome to what? All right, hold on. Let me start there. Welcome to the real estate pot. Bleh. I haven't messed up this much in a long time. Hold
Listen,
on.
man, when I shoot my videos, the same thing. We're shooting them.
Well,
like
I get.
6.
Well, what's different for me is, like I said, it's gonna be a little different one. It's not really about real estate, but let me because what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna change it up a little bit. Anyway.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Real Estate Block Podcast. Today we have a very special show. We have my buddy Edward on the show today. He isn't necessarily a real estate entrepreneur, but he's a person that I do use in my real estate business, and he's added tremendous value. And I wanted to bring him on the show to see if he could add you some value as well. Now, if you have a team or you're looking to hire people, he is the guy to go to. Edward, what's up, man? So who are you and what do you do?
Hey, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me here on the Real Estate Block Podcast. And hopefully we drop some gems here. Help you guys out. And kind of like what Aaron's saying. We connected and we started to launch some campaigns in the sales space to recruit sales reps. And that's what we do. So we post ads, we pre-screen applicants, and then we schedule them for me and my partner do it for about 75 plus companies every week. So anything from
75 companies.
Yeah, call centers. Kind of like you're kind of like a small call center, so it's it's a phone room. Work with life insurance guys. Wow. Real estate, just anything with sales. We can build a sales team.
Awesome. Okay, so before we get into that, before the show, before we logged on to the show, you were mentioning that you did wholesaling. Was it last year, 2 years ago? Tell us about that story. Why did you get into wholesaling real estate, and then also why did you basically leave that business?
Yeah. So I got into wholesaling. I'll share with you kind of what really went down. Carlos Reyes was having a mastermind meetup in San Diego, and the day before, I had just followed him like 48 hours before this. And I kind of like messaged him, like, hey, you're going to be an SD. We should have coffee. I had no clue that, he was going to have a mastermind. I really didn't know like what he was doing necessarily. I didn't know that it was like a paid kind of thing to be there. But I just shot him a message. I was like, hey, listen, can we have coffee? Like, I want to get to know, like, you, the industry. And he sends you a message back. He's like, hey, man, I'm sorry, brother. Appreciate you. But, this is like a private mastermind. So I was like, all right, I'm not getting in. So anyways, long story short, pulled some strings and I ended up coming to the mastermind in San Diego. And that's where I meet a lot of the guys there, but I meet Eric Klein. And the guy's just down to earth, like always giving, just like from day one, from the day I met the guy, he was just like, hey, listen, man, like you could do this if you got the hustle, if you put in the work and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, what? Like, this is like a total new space. So that happened. I connected with Eric, kind of helped him with his office. And then from there, he's referred me a lot of clients and people to help, build and recruit for in sales. But that's kind of how I got into the space. And then from there, I launched a quick, turned up an LLC, got into the space, got cold callers, got the leads, started doing the whole, not the PPC, but more of the cold calling side. And in our first month, we had 5 contracts, 5 under contract, 2 went through. I think the first one was like a $30,000 deal. The second one was like another like $18,000. And then the last 3, that's when during that time, the VCs or whoever these I forgot what do you guys call them? The venture, the guys that had the money that were paying like high price.
Hedge funds.
Hedge funds. That's what I'm talking about. Hedge funds, VCs, hedge funds. And so those guys stopped buying, and then from there I was like, you know what? Like, it seems like a good business, but most of my income is coming from my recruiting company, and I just don't want to, leave the gas off of that. So that's where we stayed focused on. But I did see the potential in the space, and I did see how we were able to get those contracts and make money there.
No, absolutely, man. That's pretty cool though that you went into wholesaling. I mean, you already had a prior business. You went into wholesaling. You killed it. You realized that you didn't want to continue and pursue that. Now, obviously, you had some of the what I've seen too is that people who have previous business knowledge and setup and structure and mindset usually do pretty well when they could jump into a new business for the most part if you really focus on it.
Yeah.
How long prior to doing that real estate thing were you already set up your recruiting business? Like, how long have you had that going on?
So I was partnered with my friend, kind of best friend from high school. So take you back. We were 8th grade. We were selling candy, making
nice.
40, 50 bucks a day, failing every class. He was more the smart guy. Me, I was failing every class besides art, computer science, because the guy liked me, and one more, which was a business academy. Other than that, man, like everything was, but we were always making money. So he was the guy that got me into the recruiting space. So in 2019, he's like, hey, why don't you start your own thing, make some more money? I'll help you kind of put it together. And even till today, we're still partnered in, clients and whatnot. But that's where I started my, recruiting. I've been doing it for a while with him, but then 19 was when I branched out on my own.
Okay, so I want to go way back here. So you had a good buddy that you had some candy, because that's always a cool story. Kids having this entrepreneur mindset and failing everything else, and then because obviously they were focused on making revenue. How did you start selling candy? Were they like those dollar bars? Did you like buy them at Costco and come to school and sling it, or did you have
even better? So I'll tell you the story. This is a funny story.
Yeah.
So in 8th grade, me and my buddy would go to this gym here in Orange County, Santa Ana. It was called Bally Total Fitness, and you probably remember the Bally all over the U.S. But I think they got bought out by like LA Fitness and they turned over. But we would always go to the gym there, and then we'd always walk to his house. And I don't know exactly like how it started necessarily, but I know we wanted to make money, so we stopped by Rite Aid. And Rite Aid would have these deals with the candy where you could buy 3 candies for $1. And in some places, like these candies can sell for like $1. Vending machines, they would probably sell them for $1, like a Snicker bar, like a Twix, whatever. But we knew that at the school they weren't selling them. So we'd spend $1, we'd have 3, and then we'd go out. So we'd probably have like maybe 30, 40 candy bars, in our bag, put them in the fridge so they don't melt, take them to school, put them in the locker, and then all of like nutrition, which was kind of like our like before lunch, and then our lunch period, we were just hustling all this candy, man. Like everybody, like 3 months in, everybody knew. Like, and we had like our customer base were like these guys that were their parents would give them like 20, 30 bucks, and they were a little bit on the heavier side. And these guys would get us like 10 candies. I was like, these are like, we have to go to them first, give them priority, let them pick and choose, and then we'd go out and So I'd also get Friday school, because in certain classes, they already knew that I was the guy that with the candy, but we couldn't sell. So some of these teachers were very like picky, and so I remember that in certain classes I would make X amount of dollars, and I'd think about it, and I was like, you know what, like, is like $15, $20 worth it for a Friday school? I'm gonna be there for 4 hours, and I'd have to weigh that option. And a lot of times I'd be like, yeah, for sure. And then they'd write me up for Friday school, and I'd have to show up, and sometimes at Saturday school. So it was kind of like a penalty for doing this, but it was worth it. So I guess that's kind of the business game. But
so that was your first business. You started an LLC. No, I'm just kidding. No, so it was your first business. Did you go right into recruiting after that? Was there any other business ventures?
So right out of high school, me and my partner, which is the same guy, his name is Miles. We went into network marketing. So out of high school, into network marketing, and we started building a team. Like we started making checks. Most people don't make checks from the MLM stuff, but we started making checks. So we'd recruit people. We'd be selling the product. Same thing that we were doing, just at a different scale.
Right.
Now we're working with people. And we did that for a while. Companies go, one of the companies, is just not the right fit. So we move on to the next company. We're starting to build. I think when I was 19, we were talking with this one guy who I think he made $100 million, and he was opening up a call center in Orange County. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know, but he had a really bad record, like online. At this point, like you're young, you're not really like now, like today we're very more open to like, okay, let me go look that guy up or whatever. But back then you didn't really have that. And then one day we're 3 months in working with this guy, and we realized, man, this guy's like a criminal. Like, he's been out of prison, he's doing this. So we skipped that one. We're like, you know what? We're not going to get into a venture with this individual. I think later he went to jail, but so we were like, okay, that's a good thing. But yeah, I've always been like, looking for like the vehicle. And honestly, I always tell everybody, like, I don't really care necessarily, so long as it's legal and morally right. I don't care like what we do. Like, if you come up with an opportunity today or tomorrow where you're like, hey, Ed, we can make $1 million a year plus, building like a service that cleans toilets or goes does like something dirty, like, I'm in. Like, people say like you gotta love what you do, and I think that it goes up to an extent, but sometimes you gotta just work hard to do what you love.
No, I love it, and that's kind of loving what you do. Absolutely, and I like what you said, the whole toilet-based business. Just providing value to the market. One book I always like to recommend is the one thing. So it's like, if you want to make $1 million, focus on that one business until it does make that $1 million, perfect it.
Yeah.
Okay, so why recruiting?
So I think no one lands in recruiting, to be honest with you. It's not like some people don't like go to school and be like, I want to be a recruiter today.
Yeah.
They also don't think necessarily, hey, recruiting is going to be like the business that I want to get into. I think most people that I've spoken to fall into it, whether they started there at a company and then they're like, you know what, like, I'm pretty good at this. Like, I can do this. I can make this happen. So there's always like something that gets them in the door. And I think that's kind of how most recruiting. So it wasn't something that where like I woke up and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get into recruiting. At the same time, my buddy was already doing it, and I saw that he was having success.
Okay.
So, he kind of brought me into the space, and that's kind of, how I got started.
How long have you been doing it now?
So let's see. I'd say like 6 years, 7.
Wow, 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and then in that 6 years, you built up the 75 clients, big and small. And it looked like you guys have definitely, have nailed down the process and procedures. What does your team look like behind the recruiting organization that you built?
So our team, and this, I'm just talking about mine, not my partners, because we have clients that we work together. So some of these clients are really, really big clients where my buddy's doing like half the volume, and then I'm having to fill in the next half because just so much volume that some of these people need. But on my end, we have about 7 or 8 people 7, and then one that's like a part-timer. And that's, everything from, the guys that are scheduling, kind of helping us out behind the scenes, making sure that we're hitting our quotas. I'm always monitoring everything on my end because kind of what Eric Klein would say, whatever you don't inspect, don't expect,
Yeah. No,
true. A lot of times you're like, oh man, like I thought this was going to be good. I thought we were doing well. And, people are people, humans are humans. So you got to make sure that you're on top of that.
Now, are these, is your team like virtual people overseas? Are they over here in the United States? Are they in your backyard?
A mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, the reason why I bring you on too is because we use you guys. Matter of fact, we're going to use you guys again next week, and also actually at the beginning of every single month right now, because what you do provide us is huge. So in the future, we will be having our own recruiter in office actually, and again, that could be next year or 2 years down the road once we get our team up and going. But right now, again, if you want to build a team, small team, big team, whatever that might be, by just paying that fee. Because before I would go to, and we talked about this, and you could actually probably elaborate way more than I did, but I would go to a recruiter that has the business. I remember I was just so what would you call it? Ticket shocked or price shocked when I said, hey, I need an acquisition person. I need a sales rep. And they go, all right, well, when we find one, it's gonna be like $15,000. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Even if I don't stick with them. Yeah. And I saw that you're about to kind of elaborate
on that. With you on that. Can I close this window?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me see. All right, perfect. I didn't want that noise to distract. Okay, we are back.
And like I said, so I would go to these off you know, basically
Recruiters.
outside recruiter. Yeah. And they would
Yeah.
just, you charge you 15, 70 grand. I mean, it could be up to 70 grand a
Yeah.
year's salary or whatever to
Yeah.
find a good person. Now that I'm not saying that that's not valuable, but when, and a matter of fact, it was Eric Klein that referred you, that got us, and now hopefully I could return the favor to our listeners and any other
Yeah.
people that I may know on the side. I always try to refer to people to
Appreciate
you
that.
as like,
Yeah.
if you're looking to find people fast and not doing all that work yourself and just be able to kind of log in. That's what I do is when I pay my fee to you, you
Yep.
set up all the interviews. I tell you
Yep.
what I'm looking for. I'm able to log in and go on now a Zoom call. And again, it was both ways that they could come into the office or Zoom call. We do Zoom calls now, just kind of get that initial phase. We have a whole process to hire, and that first it's a Zoom call. Then it's actually an indoor shadow after they've also filled out a personality test, and it's indoor shadow, and then it's a reference call. So I do have like a 4-step process, but for you just to bring them to the table and at the price that you provide them at is so much value. Like I pay, is it okay if I share how much I pay you?
Yeah.
So I pay $1,500 for you to give me, I think, 25 clients. And again, I could go up or down depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
But and out of that 25, I'm usually able to hire one. And I'm talking about an A player, right?
Yeah.
Because one thing I do look for are A player talent. And again, with my 4-step process to hire somebody, I am trying to look for the best of the best. And you're able to kind of bring them to my doorstep, because I tried it on my own. I tried to do the whole Indeed and ZipRecruiter and all that stuff, and it was just I didn't have time, because I should be doing other stuff to keep that momentum in my business.
Right.
But it's crazy the value that you do bring. Where you're, I don't know how you do it. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but that's the whole point of the value that you bring to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Because when you get those wheels turning, you put all that revenue toward to bring these people to my door. It's man, it's. You have made me so much money just by me paying you $1,500, and again, I'm going to pay you another $1,500 next week. You know what I mean? So so you get to bring me 25 more new candidates.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely, and I think that's kind of like the goal of what we do. So you're right. There are recruiters out there. We're a little bit different because there are recruiters out there that are going to charge you, and people can Google this. Sometimes people don't believe it, but you're right. Like 15 to 20% of the first year's salary. And then, it's like, well, they they'll stick around for 30 days and that's our contract. And so, sometimes what ends up happening, especially in the sales space, is, I mean, we could do that and make more money, but what we realized is, listen, I don't like to go to bed that night knowing that, because I know that sales is high turnover at times. So meaning, you got a rock star one day, or he's the best performer, he's doing his own thing, and all of a sudden, like, he just plows down, or he gets an idea to go do something different. And now you're like, whoa, like, what happened to like my revenue stream? 50% is coming from this guy, 20, 30, whatever it is. And so what I realized is, listen, why don't we just streamline candidates over to people, to our clients. And then from there, just charge them a flat fee. And, we kind of saw the numbers that people were hiring anywhere from 2 to 1, 1 to 2 individuals from, sourcing. And again, like you said, you're trying to look for like the best individual. And so we just saw a better system there. And then that helps me on my end where I do my job. I don't, I'm not charging a huge fee, but I have you as a recurring client knowing that, like, hey, it's possible that, maybe 3-4 months down the road or whenever it is, somebody decides to book out. You're like, hey, I'm going to call Edward. I'm going to give him a call, launch the campaign. And you see our turnaround time is very quick. You reach out to me on Friday, we launch the ads, and we got people walking in the door or doing Zoom interviews by Monday.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I read something cool in my book. I'm reading this book right now, and I'm pretty much done with it. But it's I think it's called Your Business's Leaky Bucket. Great book. And in one of the chapters, it talks about it takes about 4, and this is average standards until you actually get your hiring process on point. But it takes 4 hires to hire 1 A player. Now, an A player is not somebody who has to be extraordinary, somebody who's doing, jumping and going through hoops. It's literally just somebody who hits normal standards and a company culture fit. That's what an A player is.
Right.
And it takes 4 hires on average to hire 1. Yeah. So literally I need to do about 4 campaigns technically to to hire one. And that's actually kind of average what we've seen. The last two people we hired even from our campaigns, I had to let go. And then also it was a third one. He's actually right outside my door. His name is Sean. And he's been with us for about a month now, and he's crushing. He's a killer. He's here super early. He's here before I am, and he'll leave him after I am, and he's a great culture fit. Anyways, but that's the whole point of like you need to have something sustainable, and especially like you said in the sales industry, there is this type of turnover because it's hard, man. No matter what sales, and again, we don't have a cold call company. I know you kind of said that earlier. We just have closers. I mean, we have sales people, and I'm sure you got some good business with those bigger clients who do have cold call centers. So let me ask you this. Let's take a deep dive in a little bit on the background of everything. What kind of marketing are you doing to find all these clients that do come to our doors to be potentially hired?
Yeah, so to find the candidates, we're using really the main sources. So a lot of recruiters try to act like, so let me actually take a step back. In recruiting, there are two types, and even within sales. So a lot of times when people put them together, and I've seen a lot of these sales gurus and sales guys, and you see a lot of these guys right now that talk about like, we'll find you a closer or you don't pay, and you see their ad, we'll set you an appointment setter or you don't pay for your whatever high ticket. These guys they've just found a business opportunity because these guys have not been doing it for a while. I'll tell you that much. Like I see kind of what they do. Like it's different. So there's two types of sales. There's one is a position, two types of position. One is a position where you need just somebody that can close, which is kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for like that closer. So where a lot of companies spend a lot of time is they try to find like the perfect like individual there. And they do it the old school method, which they look at the resume, they see where they've worked, what they've done. But the reality is that the resume is never going to determine, what at the end of the day. It's going to give you some indicators, but not fully who this person is until kind of what you said, you have that shadow day. And then you have them on the phone. And then from there, that's really what's going to determine, because you could have a guy who has sold $3.5 million in an industry, and you hire him thinking that this guy's the guy, and he ends up flopping because he doesn't have that communication skills. Because every business, every type of deal, niche space, there's a specific sales process for that space. So a heavy closer at a car dealership is going to be different than somebody who's trying to build a relationship over the phone to acquire a home or something like that. There's a balance there. So then there's another type of sales position where you're looking for like companies that are hiring like let's just say a medical sales rep. These individuals are going to be building their own business, and at the same time, they're going to be out there beginning to make connections with directors of hospitals. They're trying to sell a $500,000 ultrasound machine to a medical practice. So these are two different types of individuals, and a lot of times we think, well, we're just looking for like one. There are different ways of indicators that are going to determine like who this person is, like which one are we going to hire, and I think that is important. But let me answer your question. When you say about where do we find these candidates? When we post our ads, we're posting to a variety of platforms, but most of our traffic does come from the big ones, so ZipRecruiter and Indeed. Okay. One of the things that we're able to do with these platforms, though, is we're able to, because of our skills, we're able to create a way to get higher volume than the average company or person, and create a business out of that. So that's one thing that we, whether it's testing variety of headlines, titles, whatever it is, that's what we've done. And then also not only that, but because people can have access to that within in-house. But also, we are doing the pre-screening, and then we are doing the scheduling, and we're sending confirmation. So even if that saves a business owner or a company, a small company, 15 hours, 10 hours a week, it's a big save, because there's also an emotional connection attached to that. And I'll kind of share how that works. Say that you, Aaron, post an ad on Indeed or ZipRecruiter, and you begin to get some applicants coming in, and you find 3 guys because you looked at the resume. Maybe you like, I don't know, some people are strange and they'll be like, no, I love the name. This person has just the right name, right? The resume, they have the right things. You begin to kind of build an emotional, like, man, this guy could potentially be like my next superstar, right? And for 3 to 4 days, you're thinking this guy's it, this guy's it, this guy's it. And then you text him, you reach out to him, you get on a call with him, he's on board, he's everything. You're like, I'm done. Like I'm about to be like, down the mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize that at the end of the day, he's a no-show. He doesn't show up. He sends a text message. He's like, that emotional connection that happens with like that right there. For a lot of people, like, it's like, man, like this doesn't work, or like, when am I going to find the right person? So one thing we also do on our end, and this is just a byproduct of, kind of like having somebody else do it, is by the time they get to you, there is no connection. They've already showed up, whether in person or over the phone.
Right.
So they've already showed you that much. And then now they have to sell you as to like, hey, why, should they get this position, and are they the right fit? So a lot of guys go through that, kind of like behind the scenes. And it's happened to me too. That's why I share it. You look at the guy, you're like, oh, this guy's it. And at the end, you're like pointed. You're like, oh, darn it. So
it's definitely a process. Let me ask you this: how do you do that? I mean, how do you get that fast turnover? So when I say, hey, Edward, I need ads going, and I need, I want to make sure we get interviews, starting next Monday, and let's say it's Friday, and you're like, done. How do you get such a tremendous turnover?
Yeah, so we have half of our team that works like over the weekend. So there's always people that are scheduling like, Saturday and Sunday, which is big because Monday some companies want to have a strong Monday, but who's going to do the work? And also if you're scheduling Friday, the more time you let go, you let from the interview, people forget, unfortunately, or they just decide that, they have buyer's remorse. So I'm not going to show up to that interview no more. Like I'm good, or like maybe.
Right.
So that high energy and that emotional purchase that they made, because that's what they do. Like this is all emotional purchase. Like we're selling the position at the end of the day through the ad, and then when they speak to you, we're always selling a position. It's not like some positions, if they're paying $500,000, are going to sell themselves. But generally speaking, these guys do have options in other places if they're good people. So that fast turnover is, we have people working, Saturday and Sunday, so through the weekend. And then we also have a good system that we have set up to where we can throw a client and launch their campaign very quickly from just past experiences and things that we have set up in place for us to get that fast turnover. And I think that's it's important, because a lot of companies, usually they can spend anywhere from 1 to 3 months looking for the right person. Whereas I just want to find you that person that week. I need you to hire somebody. It's cool that I can make money, and you call me every time, and it's a business transaction. But at the end of the day, I do want you to hire somebody, because I want to have some value there where you can be like, hey, you know what? Like we found that this guy, maybe he stuck around for 6 months, a year, or whatever, but he came from Edward's source, and that's kind of
exactly.
As well.
No, I'm sure you get all the feels when your clients, or even myself, when I say, dude, I hired X person, good job. Thanks for bringing them to me. Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So coming from a recruiter, not just bringing people to the table, I would love to pick your brain on what do you think the best process would be so on our end, I have all these interviews coming for the week. What would you recommend that I do step by step to make sure I hire the right person?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll start with this truth, which is the reality. Everybody is different. So everyone's going to do it differently because there's different strengths. I'll give you an example. There's a guy who just tells me, hey, bring whoever, even if they don't have the sales skills and everything that we kind of pre-screen for, right? And I don't know how this person does it. He's probably more of a charismatic individual for sure. And maybe he's been in the industry longer and he kind of just knows the feel. But he's not necessarily looking for like the main skill. He's looking for the guy he can coach. He's looking for the individual who can just bring in. And he knows he'll turn him into a superstar. You say that comes from his experience, probably. You can say that comes from like, what people would call the intuition or whatever, maybe. But at the end of the day, there's guys that are like that and they have a successful booming business. So they don't have a process, right? On the other end, you have other guys who have a full source process. Let's send them this index test right when they come in the door, when they apply. Let's move him up to this next level. Let's push him there. Let's have him talk to Lisa. Let's have him talk to Monica. Let's have him talk to Jerry. It's like a full thing, right? And in the recruiting space, there's this meme that's on LinkedIn, and it's basically like somebody saying like, you're looking for the perfect a hire, but this is what it looks like in most companies in 2023, for example. And there's like a full trail of like puzzles and everything that somebody has to jump through. And like realistically, you could have just removed 90% of that and just put them on the phones, right? So
100%.
Kind of the story that I mentioned before with like the medical sales rep and hiring more like of a closer, there's a different way process. So back to the steps, the things that I think that should be there. Number one is a source of traffic, which, you know, this is kind of what we fix, where we're like, hey, we're going to just do everything and we're going to pre-screen them with a couple questions, and then we're going to schedule them on your calendar. So by the time you get to the office or these people are already walking in, you get it done with, it's on, you hire or you don't. So that's number one. So you're going to need that. Number two is having really asking the emotional questions, not like the logical questions. So what I sell is I never sell the actual opportunity, because these people that usually are coming in only care about one thing. When they talk to you on the phone, then they'll tell you that they love real estate, and they'll tell you that they love to sell a car, and they'll tell you that they love it and they can't wait to get into that. But at the end of the day, the only thing that they care about is, can they make 100K plus, right? 150. That's really what, and they'll never tell you that, because then they're going to the wrong candidate, right? These people have to like play the game, but really internally, that's all they care about.
True.
So when I'm interviewing, I'm focusing on, hey, listen, when I'm going to sell this opportunity, I'm going to sell this opportunity and I'm going to let them know, hey, listen, you can make 100K, and here's how. We have these inbound leads. We have these people that are interested. We have the right product, and we have the funds to purchase our house. Everything is there. Everything is ready to go. Are you hungry? Like, do you want this? And what I would determine is, like, on the first end is, they don't care what they sell. They just care about, can they make that 100,000? And are you going to be the person who's going to take them to that place? Because they have their own dreams, right? They have their own, I think. So what I always tell somebody is, even recruiting, they have to buy into it emotionally. So people, they'll buy emotionally. They'll make that purchase emotionally, and then they'll reason logic. They'll give an example. For our life insurance clients, it's never about the policy. It's never about life insurance, about final expense, about mortgage protection. Mortgage protection, for the guys that are listening and don't know, if something were to happen to the breadwinner in the house, this insurance would kick in and pay the mortgage for your wife, your kids. There's a protection there. So who's gonna make the sell better out there when they're meeting or over the phone when they're talking to the prospect? The individual who is selling the mortgage protection benefits, and you're going to get X amount of protection and this amount coming in through the month, and this is what you're going to do. And we have our lines that are open 24/7, and there's easeability, and we're the 5-star company on Glassdoor, Indeed, everywhere, right? That's all good stuff, but that's the cherry on top. The way you're really going to sell that deal is you're going to say, hey, listen, let me ask you a question. If in a case, in a case that you weren't here tomorrow, what is it that you're going to do? How is it that your wife, your kids are going to be protected? Wouldn't it be, what is it worth it for X amount of dollars every month for you to have peace of mind that your family is covered? And that right there is really what that guy is going to think about. He's not going to think about like the benefits of this thing, because he doesn't care about that. He only thinks about like, yes, I want my wife and my kids to be protected. And what he just made an emotional purchase. And that's how we decide things too. When we go buy a car, it's never about the price. Sometimes, the price will have to like, bring us into like reality or whatnot. But realistically, you're like, man, what I can look like inside of that vehicle, the way that I can take off, the way that I can appear going, just so we make all these emotional purchase, what people say unconsciously, subconsciously, whatever. Like, we make these behind the scenes, but realistically, then we try to reason it logically. So recruiting is the same thing. You're looking for an emotional sell to them, and you're also seeing if these guys are hungry. So the first thing I look for is like, do they have the hunger and the desire? If they have all the skills, everything possible, I don't see hunger in them. I don't see a desire. I also would ask questions like, hey, I want to know, like, do they have a family? Do they have kids? Because that right there is something that they need to make money, because they have to bring the money in. To whereas somebody who's just kind of coasting in life, he's more of trying the opportunity as opposed to really grabbing the opportunity by the horns and moving forward and really just being a heavy hitter.
No, I love that. I love that. Actually, it's kind of, I'm writing some notes here. Definitely create that motion. Because again, at the end of the day, you're gonna you could just say, "Hey, you're hired," and they're gonna join. And one question I'm gonna probably put down, because I have my bag of questions that I always like to ask, and I think one question I'm going to ask too is that, like, what are you going to do to make sure you show up every day to success? What does success look like to you? What actions are you going to take to make sure you succeed? Right. It's funny. We hired somebody, and the guy showed up on his first day looking like a bag of ass, wrinkled shirt, baggy pants. And I was like, dude, this was not the interview. Right. He in his interview, he had the tie, he had the nice clothes, and he was there. And then 2 days later, he's falling asleep at his desk, and you know where that story went.
Yeah.
So, 100%. But no,
it's crazy that today people get away with that. Yeah. I mean, just 5-10 years ago, I mean, man, like, if you weren't there at 8:59, looking good, smelling right, you weren't getting the job. But we've this culture has moved out. So you're like, what's happened today? But this is kind of it's funny when you were saying that. I was kind of laughing because I just got a text from one of my clients, and he's like, "You're not going to believe this guy who showed up to my office. I know it's not your fault, because we didn't know this, but this guy showed up smelling like weed, not untucked, very unprofessional. But the interview was amazing. The guy had a tie. He was like, this guy, like, he's a churchgoer. He goes to church every Sunday. Yep. He's ready to shine and grind. Nope. Yeah. So 100%. Yeah.
And the mistake that we made from that hire, and again, because we did hire that guy, and we let him go not too long after. Yeah. But what happened is we did implement, like I said, that shadow day. That shadow day just changed the game for all of us, because now what we do is after I get them on the Zoom call, first impressions, then we get them through the personality test, and then we have them doing a shadow day, which usually takes about actually 3 hours. They come in, they sit on the team meeting, they go shadow our top sales guy, and then what they don't know is that shadow day is them actually having another interview. So my top guy is going to come to me and tell me what he saw. Is he on his computer? Is he scrolling social media? Is he asking questions? Is he taking notes? Right? Those are the things 100%. I'm looking for. And then after that, then he goes to the conference room, and then we do a quick role play, right? Then we dig a little deeper. We ask some questions, and then we take it from there. So 100%. That because now I don't have to hire them. Then they have to do the shadow, and then I'm realized that they suck at the shadow. They're not doing the questions and all that stuff, and then I gotta let them go, and that it's not fun firing somebody. So that's why it's really good to do those things up front. So.
And you hit it right on the nail, because that's what I tell all of the clients. I'm like, listen, the two most important things you're going to do is the first initial interview, whether it's in person or not, and then getting them as fast as possible on the phone or shadowing. Because these guys sometimes are looking, specifically for your space, the real estate, wholesale, realistically any call center space, unless you're getting into like higher level executive sales where they're meeting directors, presidents, CEOs directly. That's a whole different game, right? Give them personality tests, give them all sorts of tests, give them, their strengths, let them know, where their weaknesses are and their strengths, because that will help them at that level. But on the level that we're at here, 100%, I tell them these are the two most important things. Like, how did that first initial, did you smell anything? Did you, sense anything? And then because some guys are very good at just faking it, right? And then they come in and you're like, whoa, like this guy wasn't. But exactly. It's number one. It's not to nobody, even the guys that think they're tough, strong, thick skin, unless they're emotionally, not connected. It's no one wants to fire somebody. It doesn't feel right. But at the same time, you have your operation, you have, your family to go back to and give an account to, So absolutely. I think that the shadowing and making sure that they get on the phone as fast as possible is 10 times more important than all they tell you, all they've done in the past, what's on the resume. Because again, if they're hungry and they're willing, kind of like one guy said, 10 soldiers 10 Navy SEALs that are committed and that have trained and that have the hunger and the desire and they're ready to die at any moment in time is better than 100 soldiers that are just doing their job.
Right, right.
And that's what it is. It's that mindset.
Ed, we could talk about recruiting all day. So you built an amazing business. Hopefully, people can come to you even after listening to the show. Let me ask you one more question before I let you go. What motivates you to basically keep going and to keep your business, building your business? I mean, so what motivates you?
Yeah. So for me, I'll be honest with you. Everybody asks me like, are you passionate about what you do? Are you passionate about what you do? I tell them, I don't really look at the passion too much because necessarily like who's going to be passionate about this? Like it's not like when I think of a passion, I think something you can really enjoy. Okay. I love it. I enjoy it. There are great times and great clients and just moments in this whole game and space. But I see this as like an occupation to do what I love. And so what drives me, what motivates me, number one is God. So nice. For me, like to follow that and to follow that call is higher. So building the business and even guys that are out there that are building business, like for me, like as you can see back here, you got all these books back here. Let me
yep.
So we got all these books that we're working through.
Love it.
Look, check this out. I'm just gonna break this down to you. So this is my passion. When you're like, hey, what are you doing? So you got all of this here. This is like the church history. So if you're gonna read this,
nice.
You got to have some time. You got to have some sort of vehicle that like is working it behind the scenes. The inerrant word. New Testament philosophy, theology with some of these guys.
Love it.
So like all this stuff, like this is really like what drives that.
Yeah.
And so for me to work hard and make sure that I do the right job for the clients and to continue to have a business in place, Lord willing, and just, into the future, I want to make sure that, so this is my primary focus and this is what drives, all that we do. And I think that, people have different drives. Some people, it's going to be their family, their wife, their kids, whatever it is, but that for me is kind of the time that I get from, doing this to do that is it's priceless.
Absolutely. No, yeah. I love that you're brother in Christ. Okay. So where can we find you, Edward? Where can we get a hold of you if we want to hire you to bring us candidates?
Yeah. So you can go to elevatingyourtalent.com and there's going to be a little page there to kind of book a call. You could do that. If they contact you directly, you can give them my contact information, Aaron, and they can reach out to you. And really those are the two main places through you or through the website to really just get in touch and jump on a call. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that I'm the right fit. Maybe for some people, you're not always going to be the right fit, but if you're looking for kind of what we spoke about today, having something quick, fast turnover time where you can focus on the business and you just need somebody to come in and, get you a flow of applicants, we're ready to go. We can help you out there.
Awesome. If you heard it from this podcast, tell them Aaron Gaunt sent you at the Real Estate Block. Again, thank you so much, Edward. And hey, we'll see you next time here at the Real Estate Block podcast.
You got it, brother. Blessings. All right.